I was just looking through this amazing vintage cookbook called Vintage 5-Minute Wonders. This is one of my favorite cookbooks because it's got some really quick recipes. And today, we're going to be making 30 of those recipes. You've never heard of these before. Now, I am not going to make all 30 of these recipes in this video. There's no way we could do that. So instead, I am gone. Nah, share them with you, and I'll talk about them, and I'll show you what they are so you can go make them yourself. First up, we have artichokes stuffed with chicken livers. We're talking about these things right here. So, we're going to put some chicken livers in there. That sounds really good. I like that. We also have deviled eggs with shrimp. Now, these are regular deviled eggs, but you're putting shrimp in them. Oh, look at these little pork patties. These look adorable. Then we've got Hawaiian sweetbread. It comes from the test kitchen of Fanny Farmer. I love Fanny Farmer. My grandma had a Fanny Farmer cookbook. So, I'm all about that. Then, we've got deviled crab meat. Just take some lump crab meat, mix it up with some other stuff, put it in the shell, bake it for 5 minutes. It's ready to eat. Can you see how beautiful this is? Then we have a shrimp cocktail, which I bet you could probably make this in 5 minutes. And then we have lobster Newburg. You know, they always used to put these recipes on the back of cereal boxers. Do you remember that? Well, this is kind of like that. But instead, it's on the inside of the cookbook. They're basically putting together a recipe using ocean spray cranberry sauce. Yes, cranberry sauce. How cool is that? Let's go! No! 1 patented compressed yeast foam cake. This is something that was new in the 1960s. It says here, a foam cake made with compressed yeast. The batter does not need to rest. It goes right into the pan. So, it's very similar to like a regular old yeast cake, except you don't have to wait for it to rise. I think that's really cool. Next, we have miniature bacon cheesecakes. Look how adorable these are. I want to make this immediately. All you're doing is taking muffin batter, putting it in a muffin tin, topping it off with bacon and cheese. You're gonna bake it for 5 minutes, and when it's done, you're gonna sprinkle it with powdered sugar. This looks so freaking amazing! Can you imagine? Then, we've got crispy pork chops. And this one comes with a gravy. And it says here, made with Lipton onion soup mix. Butter and water. Interesting. I wonder what that's gonna taste like. Next, we've got sweetbread with tomatoes. I love sweetbread. It's actually sweetened, enriched dough bread. So, it's like normal bread dough, but you just add a little sugar to it. Then you roll it out. You put some tomatoes on top. You roll it up. You tuck it in. You bake it for 20 minutes. So, it does take a little longer than 5 minutes. I just wanted to include it because I love sweetbread. It's one of my favorite breads. Then we've got creamed spinach with cheese sauce. Whenever I make spinach, I always just boil it and then put some salt and pepper on it. This takes it to a whole nother level. And apparently all you need is 3 ingredients. You need frozen chopped spinach, Velveeta, cheese, food, and milk. That's it. It sounds easy. Next, we've got brothy beef squares. And this one has a packet of onion soup mix, beef broth, cubed beef chuck, green beans, carrots, and potatoes. So you're basically throwing everything in a pot, cooking it for a while. Then you're putting it in a greased baking dish, covering it with biscuits, more beef broth, and then some grated cheddar cheese. You bake this in the oven, and it sounds delicious. Then we've got tuna noodle casserole, but with Campbell's tomato soup instead of milk, and I'm not sure why, but it's a vintage recipe, so I figured we had to include it. Next, we have creamed chicken, and this one uses a can of chicken, some milk, a can of cream of mushroom soup, and then some seasonings and salt and pepper. Sounds pretty good. Then we've got Hamburg steak with mushroom gravy. We're talking about the gravy. Here it says 2 browns, some Hamburg, drain off the excess fat, add flour, salt and pepper. Then slowly whisk in some milk until it's thickened. And then you're gonna some mushrooms, add them to your gravy. Put it over the top of your hamburger steak. Broil it for 5 minutes. And if you want to make this even quicker, you can use ground turkey instead of hamburg. Next, we've got chicken pie with biscuit topping. You're going to start by browning some chicken. Then you're going to throw it in a pot with some chicken broth, frozen, mixed vegetables, and some seasonings. You're going to let it simmer for 5 minutes. You're going to make a biscuit topping. You're going to pour it in a greased baking dish, bake it in the oven, and that is dinner. Now we have scalloped tomatoes with grated cheese. This one is simple. All you need is sliced tomatoes, some seasonings, a little bit of water, onion, salt and pepper, and some cheese. Next, we have scallops in there, Jugo. Look at this. All you need is fresh or frozen scallops, water, butter, salt and pepper. Pretty simple. Then we've got fluffy pancakes. Now, this isn't just any pancake recipe. This pancake recipe includes applesauce. So, you're going to mix up your pancake batter. You're going to add applesauce to it. You're going to cook your pancakes. And then you're going to serve them up with some syrup and maybe some fruit. Next, we have golden corn muffins. And this recipe starts out by saying, from Duncan Hines, America's most famous name in cake mixes. I didn't know that Duncan Hines used to own the Jiffy brand, but they do. And I never knew that. Then we have salmon patties. You're going to start by flaking some salmon. Then you're going to mix in an egg yolk, some seasonings, and some milk. Then you're going to form it into patties. You're going to fry it in a skillet until it's done. And you're going to broil it for 5 minutes. Next, we have mashed potatoes. And these are not just regular mashed potatoes. These are instant mashed potatoes made with skim milk and butter. That sounds really good to me. Next, we've got cream cheese frosting. You know, whenever I make cream cheese frosting, I always get confused by the measurements, and I end up making a huge batch. But this one makes only 1 cup of frosting. So, I like that. Then we've got creamy mayonnaise salad dressing, and this one uses Miracle Whip. Yes, Miracle Whip. I haven't used Miracle Whip since I was a kid. Next, we've got ham loaf. You're going to start by boiling some eggs. You're going to mix them up with some diced ham, milk, salt, and pepper. Then you're going to pour it into a greased loaf pan. You're going to bake it for 50 minutes. That does take longer than 5 minutes. Like I said, I'm just including it because I love ham loaf. It's one of my favorite comfort foods. Then we have creamy vegetable soup. You're going to start by frying some bacon. Then you're going to throw in some onion and celery. After that, you're going to toss in some frozen mixed vegetables, chicken broth, and seasonings. And that is your soup. Next, we've got chicken. And this one is made with pearl onions, celery, catsup, green pepper, salt and pepper. This sounds pretty tasty. Then we have stuffed green peppers. And these ones are made with ground beef, rice, tomato sauce, tomato paste, chili powder, cumin, oregano, salt and pepper. You're gonna fill your peppers with the mixture. You re-gone? Yeah! Nah, bake them for 5 minutes. And then you re-gone? Nah, top them with some shredded cheese. Next, we have Swiss steak. You're gonna start by browning some cubed steak. Then you're gonna transfer it to a slow cooker with some sliced onions, tomato sauce, Worcestershire sauce, salt and pepper. And after it's cooked, you're going to thicken the juices and pour it over the top of your steak. Then we have noodle ring. And this one is just egg noodles baked in a ring with tomato sauce and melted cheese. That sounds really good. Next, we've got orange cling. And this one has a really cool trick where you're supposed to put a teaspoon of sugar on each peach half to keep it from Then you're going to bake them for 5 minutes and serve them warm. Then we have Swedish meatballs. You're going to start by mixing up the meatballs, then you're going to brown them. You're going to put them in a casserole dish with some cream of mushroom soup, milk, salt, and pepper. You're going to bake them for 30 minutes, and if you want them faster, you can always broil them. Next, we've got baked apples. You're going to start by coating your apples. Then, you're going to fill them with a mixture of oats, raisins, brown sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg. You're going to bake them for 20 minutes. And once again, if you want to speed them up, you can always broil them. Then we have bread pudding. This recipe calls for stale bread. but you can use whatever bread you have. You're gonna cut it up, soak it in milk, and then bake it in the oven with some eggs, sugar, spice, and raisins. Then we've got Boston cream pie. Now, Boston cream pie is not actually a pie. It's a cake. And it's a sponge cake filled with custard and then topped with whipped cream. And then finally, we have lemon meringue pie. Now, I have a whole video on how to make lemon meringue pie, but I love this recipe because it tells you right here on the box, no need to make a double boiler. You can mix the ingredients right in the top of the pan. So there you go. You now know 30 recipes that you've never heard of. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you back for more fun vintage cooking adventures. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.